Hi, this is Aaron Newcomb, and on this episode of Floss Weekly, Guillermo Amaral joins me to talk about MuseScore. It's an open source music scoring software system. You're not going to want to miss it. It's coming up right now on Floss Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Floss Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Floss Weekly with Aaron Newcomb and Guillermo Amaral, episode 370, recorded on January 12th, 2016. MuseScore. This episode is brought to you by DigitalOcean. Simple and fast cloud hosting built for developers. Deploy an SSD cloud server in 55 seconds. Try it today for free. Visit DigitalOcean.com, and once you sign up, be sure to enter the promo code FLOSS in the billing section to get your $10 credit. Hey everybody, it's Floss Weekly, the show where we talk about free libre open source software. And I'm your host today, Aaron Newcomb, sitting in for Randall Schwartz, who is off on a cruise somewhere luxurious, eating, drinking, doing all those things that you do on a cruise. So he's away today, and I'm sitting in. And as always, I'm joined by a lovely co-host. This time it's Guillermo Amaral. How are you doing, Guillermo?
Just being lovely and beautiful.
You gotta do the hair flip, when you come on Floss, because we're trendsetters here. So how are you doing? How are things going for you?
Great. So far, we've actually gotten a lot of water here in this area. California doesn't really get a lot of water. I'm guessing you probably also got that hit from El Nino, right? So.
Oh yeah, big time.
So
in fact,
a lot of rain.
You can see the sun here behind me, and actually this is one of the few days we've had sun. It's been so rainy and overcast that it's actually nice to get some sun in here, and it's a strange feeling because it's been sunny for so long with no rain for so long. It's like, what is this wet stuff coming down from the sky? I don't know, but it is really good to get the rain, even though most of the time we'd be dreading it. But now it's like, yeah, we really need the rain. In fact, I was driving up to Portland in between the holidays, and we drove over, I think it was Lake Shasta or something, one of the big reservoirs for rainwater here in California. And it was amazing how low the water was and how much of the water line you could see on the shores up there. It was just crazy. And it's like, yeah, I guess we do need a few years of good rain in order to get out of this drought. I can see what people are saying. So anyway, this isn't the show about rain. It's the show about open source software. And we have some guests on today. We're going to be talking about MuseScore, which is a musical scoring application, I guess you would say, but it's for writing music. I don't know, Guillermo, do you know anything about MuseScore?
No, I haven't used the software at all before. I did see somebody playing around with it once, but I've actually never really played with it myself. I stopped writing music maybe 20 years ago, which dates me a tiny bit.
A little bit, but I mean, it sounds like you have at least some musical background. I mean, I've, in college, I learned to play some chords on a guitar. I've dabbled a little bit with a trumpet because I've always wanted to learn trumpet. So I picked up a trumpet and blew some awful notes through it and annoyed the whole family. But my son, on the other hand, actually is a musician in high school. He's really big into band. He plays couple different saxophones and sousaphone and the marching band and all that stuff. And he's done some transposing. And this is the software that he chose to use for that. He actually uses this software to transpose his music. So I'm excited to talk to our guests in a minute here about that and see, the background where this thing got started and all of that stuff. So it should be really good. But before we get to that, we have to thank our sponsors. So let's do that real quick. Our sponsor today is DigitalOcean. Whether you're developing an app, a website, or working on a server-based project, you need flexible, reliable, and affordable hosting. DigitalOcean offers Droplets, which are virtual private servers that can be customized and deployed easily to host websites, web apps, production applications, personal projects, virtual desktops, just about anything you can think of. And get this, they give you full root access, which is so important if you are someone like me who likes to hack on this stuff and install your own packages and all that kind of great stuff. It's really nice. So this helps you get off the ground quickly and makes it easily to scale and when you find success. DigitalOcean is used by over 600,000 developers, including me. I've looked at it as well. You can deploy and configure your droplets via a streamlined control panel or simple API. You can choose your OS. They support Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, Fedora, CoreOS, and even FreeBSD. We love FreeBSD. You can select from one of the many free pre-configured one-clicks like Drupal, Docker, Node.js to get up and running quickly, or build the exact infrastructure you need with root access to servers running 100% SSDs in a state-of-the-art data centers around the world. It's highly scalable, so you can meet the demands of rapidly growing applications or businesses. It has an extremely active community as well, with a large and detailed set of tutorials on all the ways you can use your droplets. So if you want to configure a LAMP server or set up a virtual desktop VPN, they've got you covered. So here's what you do. DigitalOcean has incredibly affordable and straightforward pricing. Servers start at only $5 per month. There's also hourly pricing available starting at less than a penny per hour. It's incredible. But we're going to make it easy for you to get started today and deploy an SSD cloud server for free. That's right, for free. All you have to do is visit DigitalOcean.com and create an account. Once you confirm your email and account information, go to the billing section and enter the promo code FLOSS to get a free $10 credit. That's plenty to get started and explore what DigitalOcean can do for you. That's DigitalOcean.com, and once you sign up, enter the promo code FLOSS, F-L-O-S-S, in the billing section to get your free $10 credit. By the way, congrats to DigitalOcean. They just launched their 10 millionth droplet. 10 million droplets. That's great. We thank them for their support of Floss Weekly. So now let's go ahead and bring on our guests. Today we're joined by Thomas Bronte and Nicholas Froman. I think I said that right. So Thomas and Nicholas, we'll call them, just because my pronunciation is probably horrible. Let's start with Nicholas. Nicholas, where are you speaking to us from?
I'm in France right now, in south of France, in Toulouse.
Nice.
Close to Spain.
Excellent. Great. And then I think we have Thomas. Is he there? Or Thomas? Is he there? We may have lost Thomas. So let's just go ahead and start with Nicholas and talk about MuseScore. So how, I should say, did MuseScore get started? How did it get started?
Well, actually, MuseScore get started, I think 15 years ago, when Werner Schwier, the project leader and still the project leader, was doing a sequencer called Muse, which still exists and is not maintained anymore by Werner, but by another team. And so he was doing this MIDI sequencer, and he was willing to add more notation stuff in this. And so he started to do it, and quite rapidly find out that it was not going to work like this. So he completely removed the notation stuff from Muse and started MuseScore. So that was in 2002 actually, and during 5-6 years, it was a very small project, just on SourceForge lying. And in 2008, Thomas and I, we were looking for something to create sheet music, a tool to create sheet music. So the thing you create with MuseScore is called sheet music. And sorry for the accent, because I know my French accent sometimes make it sound different. So sheet music is what you create with MuseScore. And so, yeah, we were looking for this because we had other projects and we were looking for a free software to do that. So in 2008, we jumped in the project, and we contacted Werner, and we ported it to Windows, to Mac OS. Thomas made a website, musescore.org, where the community can communicate and so on. And along the years, MuseScore became very popular. So yeah, this is the story in a minute.
Yeah, that's great. So before 2008, there wasn't even a website for it?
No, it was only the SourceForge page.
Yeah, only the SourceForge page, and that was not really inviting. So we figured if we wanted to grow and help MuseScore, it definitely needed its own website. As I have my background in Drupal development. And Drupal is just a perfect tool to make community websites. I decided to set up this website basically, And it was a hit right from the start, meaning Drupal came with all the tools that we needed in order to make a community site for creating together the handbook for MuseScore, a forum to just communicate, and then obviously just all the other tools that you need, an issue tracker, and so forth and so forth. So we built a nice house, everything under one roof, if you will, and that really grew the community. So at the beginning, we had a few early adopters, a few people helping along. Today, it's more than 50 people contributing code. Then we have a multitude of people helping with support and so forth, and then around 500 translators worldwide. And we've built this up gradually over the years, and it's thanks to this small contributor community that MuseScore became so solid, so good, and basically the most popular notation software now on the market.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. What other software packages? I mean, what are the alternatives? I mean, here we have a great open source project with a great story, but what else would people use to do musical scoring?
So typically, the big two used to be at least Finale and Sibelius, and both packages were like dividing the market among themselves back in 2008, 2009, 2010. And both of them have a steep price. It's $600 for the full feature package. And when we kind of launched back in 2008, we knew it was a stiff competition, because either people were using the $600 version, either they were using the pirated version. And so we knew when we wanted to make a stand with MuseScore, we had to do equally as good on the product level, or sometimes even better, if people seriously wanted to move from a very good commercial software package towards MuseScore. And so, we knew we were in for some years to make a very good product and beat them on qualities, on product qualities, where they couldn't work on, like, for instance, those translations, making sure MuseScore is available in 50 languages and more. So those type of qualities.
That's excellent. That's excellent. What does is there any upper limits? I mean, is there a point at which you would say, oh, MuseScore is not working for me, I have to go off and buy this other expensive product?
Sure.
If you're,
go ahead, Nicola.
If you are creating sheet music only, and the paper stuff, or the thing you play from, MuseScore will cover 95% of what you want to do. If you want to do some more contemporary music and use some samples, a little bit exotic samples, then you will have to go for a proprietary software. That's one thing. And the other thing is sound. If you want to have the best sound, then you will probably want to go also for one of the proprietary software, because MuseScore comes with an open source sound font. So that's what we use to make sound. And it's only 150 megabytes, I think. And Sibelius and Finale comes with several gigabytes of samples. So yeah, in this sense, they are doing better sound. But for 95% of what people are using a sheet music creator, MuseScore is good.
Yeah, so I can actually, I mean, you can have multiple instruments, right? You can change things. I don't know a lot about music, so I'm just kind of, flying by the seat of my pants here. But I know my son has used it to do transposing. So would a conductor use the software, or a music teacher, a musician, individual musician, all of those people?
Yeah, all of those people, choirs, a lot of choirs and choirs directors are using it. So students, they just want to make a cover of a song they hear on the radio, or something like this. They will use it because they play the trumpet and it is not available for trumpet, so they pick MuseScore and do it. But people are also doing big composition for a marching band, for example, for a big choir. Also, churches are using it a lot for just to prepare sheet music for the office. Yeah. What did I miss?
So it's for everybody. How did you guys? You told me a little bit about how you got started in the project, but how did you two meet? Maybe Thomas can start answering that question.
Well, each one of us, so the three of us, we have basic needs as musicians. So we were looking for sheet music always. And then obviously each one of us had a reason to seek for notation software. And so for myself, it was just to make lead sheets for the jazz lessons that I was taking. And I was looking for software, and I found some interesting thread on a forum that was posted by Nicola. That was back in 2005. And that's when I contacted him in order to learn if he was able to provide the source code of the software so I could build further upon it. And so that was in August 2005. And soon after, we learned that, well, we needed some more human power in the team to make the things that we had in our heads to realize it, basically. And then I think we contacted Savanner in 2006, 2007. And it wasn't until 2008 when we really started to work closely together. Before that was just via the mailing list and so forth, just very asynchronously. But only in 2008 we really started to converse via email. And that resulted, I think, that we met for the very first time. Well, I met Wende first in 2009, and then all together at FOSDEM, the open source conference in Brussels. That was in 2010 when we met for the first time physically together. And so we took some interesting presentations and so forth. And then in the evening, we went to take a beer in Brussels. And that's when we really sat together and talked things through and understood that MuseScore might have a reasonable chance to become really a flourishing project, not only from an open source side, but also from a more commercial side, because the commercial side is also something that is necessary in order to make sure the open source side can actually flourish. So that's from my side, at least. I don't know about you, Nicola?
Yeah, well, you said it all. Huh? So I'm a drummer, and the software Thomas was talking about was a software to translate tabs to sheet music. Because I was using sheet music with some of my students. Back then I was a student, and I was teaching other people to play the drums. So yeah, I was using sheet music, and I was not finding any sheet music I liked. So I was looking for a tool to make sheet music, and I was using Lilypond, which is another good open source software to make sheet music, but it's something you have to write code to get the music typeset. And so I didn't want that. I wanted something more what you see is what you get. So yeah, that's how we met around MuseScore. And
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, so you are both musicians as well. So this came naturally to you. There was a connection there between your personal interest and the software. And I think that's always interesting how, especially in open source software, people are a lot of times scratching their own itch because they have some sort of connection with the project that they want to work on, and open source makes it possible to do that. So. Why open source? Do you know? I don't know if you know why. Maybe Thomas, why the software was open source? Why not create? If these commercial packages cost so much and people are willing to pay, $600 for these packages, why not just go with a closed source project?
Right, a good question. So for my side, as a musician, I'm always looking for sheet music from the songs that I hear on the radio, and I would love to play. I'm not a prodigy. I can't just play directly on the piano. I really need that sheet music. And so as a young guy, as I was looking for sheet music in the store, I found out that what the store makes available is only limited to bestsellers. And that's when I started to understand that the sheet music industry is actually providing just a very limited amount of sheet music. And so when I started to get on the internet and introduced by open source and so forth. For me, it was kind of a normal thing to seek for open source software that would eventually be able to democratize the creation or the production of sheet music. So there would be no barriers whatsoever for everyone to make sheet music. And by doing that, more sheet music would become available on the market. So that was, the simple idea. Otherwise, we would be still stuck with whatever the industry is serving us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And do you have a lot of contributors? Is this something that, I mean, I think you've mentioned that there's what, three people in the core, Nicholas? Is that right? And then there's other people that contribute?
Yes, on the software itself, Werner is still writing, 80% of the code. And there is, 4 people around him. There are 4 people around him who are helping, and I'm one of them. And then maybe 70 people are contributing, maybe one line, some other more. It depends. For example, we have a big contributor who made all the support for guitar and tablature and lute as well. Or banjo and all these fretted instrument. So in the latest version of MuseScore, you can write sheet music, so the notes, but you can also write the tablature. And this was done by one guy who just contributed this because he was interested in it, and yeah, that's the way it works. To answer your question about open source as well, even if the other packages are quite expensive, the fact that we made it open source enable us, like Thomas said, to have a lot of people, because with only the 3 of us, we could have done all the languages translation and all the documentation and the books. For example, we have books now of explaining how to use MuseScore, how to master MuseScore, and this we can't do it. It's not possible to do it only with 3 people. So the fact that we made it open source helped us tremendously to become a leader.
Okay, you mentioned that right now you're only 3 people. What kind of programmers are you looking for? Is there a specific type of language you're looking for? What is the MuseScore written in?
MuseScore is written in C++, and we are using Qt or Qt, as you say on the other side of the pond. So Qt or Qt and C++. So yeah, you need to know a little bit about C++ and Qt in order to contribute. And the people who are helping us are of course musicians. I think 100% of them are musicians, and they can read music, of course. So yeah, they have a strong bond with the product, of course.
And the code is up on GitHub.
Sure.
So yeah, that really helps to just code faster, provide pull requests and so forth. So ever since we actually moved to GitHub, we saw the number of contributors like double or almost triple. So that was a very good move. MuseScore.org, all the information is over there. So we have a developer's handbook where you can easily get started and learn how to compile and build MuseScore yourself on your machine.
And what kind of instruments are supported? You mentioned before that somebody implemented the lute and the guitar. What other type of instruments are supported right now?
So basically,
lute and guitars are very particular. That's why I mentioned them, because they are notated in a specific way. But all the other instruments are notated more or less the same. So yeah, we support everything: piano, trumpet, all the brass instruments. Yeah, you name it. We have a list of I don't know. I think it's 600 instruments that you can choose from, and so we have a template. We have the right clef. We know the notes that the instrument can play. So even if you don't really know the instrument, but you want to compose for it, we have some information to get you started, so you don't put notes that the instrument can't play.
Oh, that's good. Oh, sorry. Go
If
ahead.
there's one limit, so the software is bound around Western music notation. So what you typically know as the staffs and the notes and lyrics and so forth. So what MuseScore can't do is something like ciphered music notation, which is typically used in China or in India. And then there are some other more kind of special ways to notate music, which are not also supported by MuseScore. But the Western music notation is like, yeah, call it the lingua franca of reading music. So basically, there are almost no limits.
What are the other ways of interacting with your software? I'm guessing you probably already have like MIDI support or something, right?
Indeed, so you can enter your music, your composition with the mouse or with the computer keyboard, which is in fact the easiest, the fastest. But then there is also a MIDI keyboard where we have so-called step entry. So you choose your duration of the note that you want to enter, and then you enter it on the MIDI keyboard. So whether that's just one key or several keys if you want to enter a chord. So that works fast as well. And that's how people create small scores up to real orchestra stuff. So via these three input methods.
And are you also able to play back through MIDI? Maybe, hit play and your keyboard starts making the sounds for you?
Yes, totally. So there is a built-in synthesizer in MuseScore. And so, as it's MIDI, the notes are just being played according to the instrument that you've entered. And again, if you have the default sound font, does a good job. But if you want better sound, then you can plug in some external sound fonts of better quality, and then you can really make it sound pretty well.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering because, go ahead, sorry.
We also support Jack, which is something that open source people know, and the Jack server is an audio server on Linux, but it was also on Mac and Windows now. And from there, you can plug MuseScore to Jack, and to Jack you can do a lot of things. You can send the MIDI to a virtual instrument or several virtual instruments, for example, and so you can have even a better sound this way. Or you can send also the MIDI to your MIDI keyboard, like you were saying, if there is a synthesizer in your MIDI keyboard, of course.
Oh, nice.
Maybe,
what about,
maybe one more thing, sorry. Yes, one more thing that I think about. So another input method is basically via MIDI import. So lots of people have just their MIDI files created in some other software, and then they want to make some good readable sheet music out of it. And so also MuseScore has a very good MIDI import facility created by a Google Summer of Code student. And so now, if you want to make some good-looking sheet music, then often that's the way.
That's great. I'm on autopilot now. I was actually going to ask that if you can import MIDI files, because I remember doing that back when I was in high school, and it does help a lot if you find somebody already made a MIDI file of a certain song. Like in my case, I think I wanted to learn and play back the Final Fantasy. One of the Final Fantasy songs, and I found the MIDI, and I was able to get the score for it from a MIDI file.
Right.
Yeah. So, what about the file format? Are you guys able? I'm guessing you can't save the MIDI file format, but do you have something else?
Yeah, a lot of things. So in terms of import, we can import MIDI. We can import music XML. Music XML is format for sheet music, and it's used by 150 other software, including the two we talked about earlier. But a lot of other software are using this and can export and import. So it's a good way to import your old collection of sheet music if you were using a proprietary software before. We also support as input guitar profiles. Capella, which is a German product as well, proprietary. So this is for input, and for output, we support PDF. We support MIDI, as you said. We support audio as well, so WAV, FLAC, OGG, even MP3, and we support a graphical format. So I said PDF, but we also support SVG and PNGs. So, for example, you can create some small snippets and then put these snippets in a in a LibreOffice document or an OpenOffice document, just to make a lesson as a teacher, for example. You just need a couple of images to put in your lesson. You made them with MuseScore, and then you import them in your tool. We even have a tool in MuseScore to capture some snippets of a sheet music already in a very good quality, so you can copy paste them directly into your word processor.
Oh wow! You actually do have a lot of formats. I'm surprised that you had me at SVG. I love when something actually exports to SVG because you can just load that up into any size. What about the cross-platform? I guess the cross-platform support for MuseScore. If I go to your site, let's say if I go to musescore.org, I see a download for Windows. Is there any other platform supported?
Yeah, sure.
Windows is supported. Mac OS X is supported. All the distribution, the Linux distribution you can think of, have MuseScore in their package manager. And I heard about FreeBSD. So FreeBSD has also MuseScore, and also OpenBSD and Dragonfly. I think BSD also has MuseScore in the package manager. So yeah, you can get it everywhere.
And if it's missing, if MuseScore would be missing for your Linux distribution, then simply drop us an email and we'll help you out to build it. And furthermore, as soon as we have new releases coming up, we send an email to all our maintainers to let them know where the source code is of the new release, so they can build the latest version for their preferred Linux distribution.
I might get a little geeky here, but you guys mentioned that this was made in Qt, right? What are you using to build this? Are you just using QMake and just somebody download Qt and build it for their platform if Qt's already supported?
No, so we don't use QMake. We use CMake to build the world stuff. So I don't know how far you want to go in this direction, so I will not go into the details. But we use CMake, and no, you need Qt to be built externally. So we don't build Qt ourselves. You have to provide Qt from your package manager or via the Qt website, where there are already a lot of binaries you can get. So yeah, this is all it's done.
Okay, and if somebody wants to get started in the project, you mentioned you have a GitHub account, right? Do you accept any pull requests, or is there any special procedure that somebody needs to go through, like maybe contacting you guys first?
No, we accept pull requests, and we have a guide, a Git workflow where we explain what we expect from the pull request. So yeah, just make a pull request, and of course you can contact us beforehand. We are on IRC. I'm on IRC almost all the time on Freenode MuseScore. Yeah, you can talk to me. My handle is the same than my Twitter handle, Laconic. So I will help you to set up your environment if needed, and help you how to make a pull request and so on.
That's nice. And I also noticed, I was looking at the website a little while ago. You also have like MuseScore.com. Is that something related directly with the project, or is that something extra to help fund development?
So we launched this website, MuseScore.com, in 2010, or actually in 2011. But we started building it in 2010, and it was to support ourselves as a team working full time on the MuseScore notation software, to have a service, an online service that would generate some income for us to then spend our time on future development of MuseScore. And so what does MuseScore.com do? It's a place where you as a MuseScore user can upload your work and share with others. So you can share your work privately, you can share it in groups, you can also share with the world. And from there on, you can also take your sheet music on your mobile phone and so forth. So it's a bit like what YouTube is doing for video. MuseScore FLOSS.com is doing for your sheet music collection. And so our business model is freemium based. So there's a limited amount of scores you can upload and store for free. As soon as you hit the limit, you pay a yearly fee of $49, and that helps us then to further run and extend the service, as well as develop MuseScore and basically make it better and more solid for the future.
That's awesome. I think we have a video, actually. We should probably show a little bit about what the interface actually looks like. I know when my son was using this, like I said, he was using it mostly for transposing. And I think if you bump up to about a minute 41, John, you'll see some of the actual activity going on there in the video. But he was doing something very similar to what this video is showing, which he was, he listened to a YouTube video or a recording of a performance or something, and he'll pick out a certain instrument and he'll want to play that, but it'll be like a clarinet or something, and he'll want to play it on his saxophone. So he'll actually go through and do the transposition simply by adding notes, and then the great thing is you can go back and hear it. You can play it, hear it, make sure it sounds right. Are there any, tricks or tools, I guess, within the software to make something like transposing or scoring for a large orchestra easier for someone as opposed to just doing it by hand all the time?
Yeah, many things. Many things. First, if you are scoring from an orchestra, we will help you with a template where all the instruments will be already set up. So that will be helpful. And often in an orchestra, people are playing more or less the same. So it's very easy to copy paste, of course. So you can copy paste a measure, several measures, part of a measure, and paste it somewhere else very easily. And for example, if you, so I will go into the musical thing now. But if you copy something for a piano part and you paste it on a trumpet being a transposing instrument, it will automatically transpose it for you. So this makes it very easy to, for example, if you are making something for a big band where several instruments are transposing instruments, but not the same transposition, it will be very easy to copy paste from one to the other, and the transposition will be directly good for you. Another thing we have is that you are not limited to the page. In the latest version, you can have the score in a long strip of paper, horizontal strip of paper. And this is very it makes it a lot easier for people to score for big orchestra, where the height of the sheet is quite high, and you don't want to turn the page all the time. So we have just one long horizontal strip where you can see the full score. So, yeah, that's a few of the features, but yeah, there are many more. You can put rehearsal mark and go and jump directly to a part of the score to make it easier to navigate into the score, and so on. So yeah, many things.
And maybe in particular then linked parts. If you're working on large scores, you can work on the full score, but you can also work on a specific part only. And whatever you change there will also be changed in the full score. And that's very convenient, just to be able to work and to just narrow down on that specific segment that you want to work on. That's an invaluable tool, link parts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all great things. These are things that you want to use software for, right? That you couldn't do before, or it was a lot more difficult to do by hand, sitting there actually, transcribing things from line to line and things like that. This is the power of software. And because it's open source, of course, it's, so much more widely available. And if there's not a feature like that, I'm assuming that people can contribute those features that they want to see. Is it hard to contribute to the project? How much of the project and the source code of the project do you need to know to be able to make contributions?
Well, it all depends on the contribution you want to make, of course. But if you want to add a feature and you already know about C++, it's quite easy to enter the thing. So I'm merging the pull requests almost on a daily basis. And sometimes I see people coming out of the blue with a beautiful pull request, and I didn't explain anything. They just read the code and manage to do it all by themselves. And sometimes it's quite complex. So for these guys, apparently it's easy. And then sometimes I had some people who ask silly questions and don't manage to do anything. So yeah, I guess it all depends about your motivation and your C++ expertise. But yeah, some people manage to contribute very easily, and we try to lower the barrier as well as much as we can. So yeah.
Great. I know I was reading online in some of our notes and things. There's you guys had a Kickstarter project back in 2012 for something called the Open Goldberg Variations. What was that?
So it was a project in collaboration with a piano player from Germany, Kimiko Oshizaka. And when we sat together, we learned from her that she loved the Goldberg variations, and actually she was practicing them in order to make some concerts around it and so forth. And that's when suddenly things came together in the sense that we wanted to showcase how MuseScore was becoming really good for difficult pieces, to typeset difficult pieces like the Goldberg variations. And she wanted to show what she could do on her piano. And so we came together and we decided, let's make a new edition, so a new score, as well as a new recording. And let's make that free and open source for everyone. So basically release it under a Creative Commons Zero license, so it can be used for any purpose. And that was the project ID. We've put it on Kickstarter. It was actually the husband of Kimiko, Robert Douglas, who was pulling that project. And so he made this Kickstarter video, and in total we wanted to raise $15,000, and we went way over that as we pulled in $23,000. All because people were really anxious about this idea to have an open source version of the Goldberg variations. So either in notation, so through a MuseScore edition, but also through performance, where people could download all the separate tracks and so forth in the highest quality. So that was quite a success. And upon release of the digital files and so forth, we couldn't have hoped for more exposure because we made up in Der Spiegel and in the New York Times and so forth. And that really elevated the thing that we wanted to accomplish with MuseScore, meaning create an open source tool, but also raise the awareness that with this open source tool, you can really collaborate around sheet music. And if you are capable of delivering that sheet music in open source as well, some really neat things come out of this. And so for instance, in particular, for the Goldberg variations, people started to use those recordings for various new projects like video projects and some other kind of mashups and so forth and so forth. So it really ended up in it was art building up on art, building up on art. And that was in fact what we intended with MuseScore. So if you would only work on software, it's kind of boring in the sense that it's just software. But this project we really elevated the story, and people talked about MuseScore in a different way, and that was very cool.
I kind of take offense to you saying it's just software. That's what I do. So I did notice that you guys support plugins. Is there a place where, like a repository where people can check those out?
So there's a plugin directory on the website. That said, we had good support in the MuseScore 1 release, but as we really wanted to refactor a lot for MuseScore 2, that also meant that we had to destroy a couple of things, and that included also the plugin framework. So the plugin framework is at this moment less mature as in the previous version, but it would certainly something that we want to work on further in this year and later. So you could extend MuseScore in various ways, and the type of plugins you will see are very various. Like for instance, to easily change the way the score is typesetted. So like changing note heads based on, for instance, the pitch, or more like analysis plugins where you want to understand how many times a certain chord was used and so forth. So it all kind of depends what kind of tools people use, basically.
And what about lyrics? Is that supported? I've seen a lot of packages that do scoring that you can actually add lyrics to the basically the song you're working on, you're playing, right? For example, you mentioned you played piano, right? And I used to do that way before, and I would like to have the lyrics while I'm playing because my memory's not that good.
Yes, indeed, you can add lyrics just note per note, or like entering the syllables, but you can also add stanzas. These are basically just small chunks of text. These can be either lyrics, but also just any type of text. So yes, it's totally supported.
I see something, I'm just looking online here, reading more about this Open Goldberg variations. It strikes me a little bit as something similar to what Blender did with their movies that they created. I mean, they used the tool to make the movie. The movie itself is, Creative Commons. It's open for anybody to use and watch and do things with. I mean, it seems very similar to that. And one of the things kind of buried in the story here is that there's page turning recognition. Is that true?
Well, that's not really true. So what you will see there, it's a demo of what it means to have a digital score. So one of the aspects of the project was that we wanted to showcase what is possible with a digital score. So a score just not on paper, but really truly available in a digital format, in this case being MuseScore. And so one of these things you could do then with the digital score is you could listen to a performer and then you could match or analyze the playback of that performer and then synchronize in real time the sheet music. So the sheet music kind of progresses as the performer is playing. And that would then result into automated page turning. That's a tool that we kind of, okay, there you have it. That's the Goldberg variations, so the aria. And it's the score actually embedded on our website. But so what I was talking about was in collaboration with another company. And we never pushed the results into production. So it was just a way for us to hack a bit and see if this could work out.
It's just really interesting. I can just having watched the kids in my son's bands that he's been in through middle school and high school, watching them manage all their music on their little stands, and then the stuff they're kids, so stuff falls off, and my son carries a binder like this with all of his music in it. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just take that and bring a big tablet, and have that, and so you don't even have the stand. The stand is like a tablet, and you start playing, and it just recognizes when it's time to turn the page, and it does that. I'm sure that's what you guys were shooting for. That would be indeed really cool.
It's a rather challenging problem, basically. And one of the things that we learned is that it either has to be working like in 100% of the time in the cases, or people will not use it. So that's when we really understood, although it's a very good idea, it needs to be rock solid. And it doesn't matter whether it's open source or not. It matters if it's really working. And it's very challenging, especially then if you talk about tablets with their microphones, and they are not that good in terms of capturing the audio. You have to do some noise reduction and then some nifty mathematics on top of that. And yeah, in the end, we decided not to pursue this idea.
But for the first part, meaning the huge binder, we got your son covered. Meaning you can get the MuseScore app and in there put all the sheet music he wants if it's in MuseScore format, and the app will play it and it can change the tempo, it can transpose it, and so on. And it can have access to all the sheet music already available on MuseScore.com.
Ah, so we didn't talk about that. So there's a mobile app. Is it for Android and iOS as well?
Yes. So both iOS and Android, and there is a free app, MuseScore. If you look for MuseScore on the Google Play or on the iTunes on the iOS App Store, you will find it. And yeah, so it does transposition, playback. You can, if there are several instruments playing, you can mute some of the instrument and only listen to one, and so on.
Great, but you can't really create the score itself. You have to have the score already in MuseScore, and then you can use it in the app.
Indeed. So it's not an editor. Yeah. It's mainly a tool to just perform or learn your scores. It's not something to create sheet music. It's more something to consume it, to learn it.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, I'll have to tell my son about that. I don't know if he knew about that, because that is really handy, especially if you have a tablet. I would think, something a little bit larger so you could see the notes a little bit better. That would be really, really handy. But of course, you have to get all of your sheet music into MuseScore first. That may be a little labor intensive. I don't know, but it may be worth it in the end. What about licensing with music? I know that with sheet music, especially, there's you have to buy the rights to have the sheet music and use the sheet music. Especially, this is especially challenging for community bands and school bands and things like that. They have to buy that. Does MuseScore help in any way with that process?
It doesn't do that. So basically, MuseScore is a tool to make your own sheet music, and so whether that's a composition in your head or a transcription that you want to make from a song on the radio and so forth. So for that extent, you're on your own, basically. Having said this, MuseScore is a large community of people using this tool to make their sheet music, and obviously you can build upon the work from others. So if you go online and you join the community, certainly you can find some people who are interested in transcribing music. It can be the classical songs, but it can also be more modern songs or the popular songs. And so one of the things that we always say to people is that take copyright into account, meaning if you don't have all the permissions to make your work publicly available, because, for instance, it's a transcription of a copyrighted work, then don't make it available publicly on the site. But just do whatever you would do, like just work privately with a few people on this work, and then that's all fine. So that's how we kind of operate things currently.
Great. Thanks for answering that. Is there anything here that? Well, let me ask you first. What's next for MuseScore? Is there any features or things that you're working on, Nicholas, that you'd like to let people know about that are coming up in the next version or two?
It will be in the details. So what we want to do in the future is make MuseScore easier to use, because it's easy to use, but it can be made easier, we believe. And then we want to make it more powerful in terms of layouting. So we want your score to be even more beautiful than they are right now, with as less effort as possible. So that's the two main things we are working on. So one thing is usability somehow, and the other thing is better automatic layout of the sheet music to have great looking scores.
Sounds good. And Thomas, is there anything that we didn't ask that we should have asked, or that you'd like to let people know about before we wrap up?
No, we covered basically everything. Just one extra thing on Nicolas' answer. So indeed, those are the two things that we are focused on, and just to make sure we don't raise the expectations too high, this is a couple of years away. So making it even easier to make sheet music. So we always think about MuseScore version 3 then, the next one, but it's certainly not around the block. So just to make sure that we don't raise the bar too high. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, sure. I don't know if we asked. I better ask. Did we mention the license? What license is this under?
So it's GPL version 2.
Okay. All right, good. And then for people that want to contribute, if there are people that hear this and they want to get involved, what's the easiest way for them to get started? Or are there specific things that you're looking for, either in the way of coding or documentation that people can help with?
So the best way is to get in touch with us, IRC or the MuseScore developer mailing list. You can find everything on musescore.org to contact us. If there is one thing I want to add, and it's linked to your question, is that during 2 years, MuseScore has been part of Google Summer of Code. And this year, we will probably apply again. So if people have IDs and they are not coders, but think that MuseScore lacks something, then they can come to us and expose the ID, and we will then expose it to Google and to the students so they can work on it. And if some of your listeners are students and they want to and musicians and they want to code on a cool project, then if MuseScore is accepted as a Google Summer of Code organization, then it will be a perfect match for the next summer to spend some time on open source and music software.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Well, there's two questions I always have to ask, and we just have a few minutes left here. So I think I'll go ahead and ask those two questions that we always ask, or else we get in trouble and we get nasty grams. Why didn't you ask the questions? So I'm going to start with Thomas. So the first question is, what is your favorite scripting language?
Well, it's a bit simple. It's PHP because it's basically the language that I'm using all the time.
Spoken like a true Drupal developer.
I'm sorry.
And Nicholas, what about you? You have a favorite scripting language?
Python.
Python. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I like Python too. I'm getting used to it more and more. I started with, well, I didn't start with Perl, but I used Perl for a long time, and now I'm getting more used to Python than Perl. And then our other question, Thomas, we'll go back to you for this one, is what is your favorite text editor?
I'm currently using PHP Storm together, with Sublime Text, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah,
nice, nice. Nicholas, what about you?
If the question was about Emacs versus VI, I will go for VI. But on a daily basis, I use Sublime Text as well.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think we all have our favorite. I go back and forth depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll use. I'm not an Emacs person though. I can't wrap my head or my fingers around Emacs. But I go back and forth. I've been using Nano a lot lately. Guillermo, how about you? Let's go to you for that question. What's your favorite text editor?
I've made it super clear that I love BI. I did use Emacs for a long while, maybe for like 5 years. But then I went back to BI and I just stayed there. I just love it too much.
Yeah. It's once you get used to something, it's hard to break away from it because I think your muscle memory gets involved somehow, and you just know how to use it. So, anyway, this isn't the show about text editors. Thank you so much, Thomas and Nicholas. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking about MuseScore. I know my son's going to be interested in watching this for sure because he uses this all the time and he really loves it. So thanks for creating such a great tool that's helped him with his music learning ability. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So that was MuseScore. What do you think, Guillermo?
Well, I like it. It's honestly, I didn't think they supported so many things that I would have gone crazy for, like back in high school. And I have had that a little lingering thing that I want to start playing a musical instrument again. So I may start doing this because it's a lot easier than writing everything on a piece of paper and then having to rub everything out and it looks horrible. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try this out. Yeah,
for sure. I know. Like I said, I've just started with dabbling with trumpet a little bit last year until my family made me stop and. So, I'm kind of interested in it too. I didn't really get a chance to do a lot of music in school. We didn't really have a music program. So now that I'm getting a little older, I kind of like, oh man, I wish I would have had that opportunity. And it's like, well, you still have the opportunity, right? Until you're dead, you can pick up some instrument somewhere. and play it. So yeah, this is a great tool, I think, and I really like that. Especially kids can get involved and pick this up and use it and play with it, because I think that these types of tools really engage with kids and help them understand not only how to read and write music, but also, like I said, transposing things for different instruments, or trying to figure, it's almost like could be a game almost, to figure out, okay, here's something I'm listening to on YouTube. Can I figure out what those notes are and put those into MuseScore and come up with, and then change it around and do something fantastic with it so that my friends can play it too. So yeah, I think it's really, really, really interesting. Speaking of interesting, we have some upcoming shows that are interesting as well. How about that for a transition? So I think coming up next week, there's BookType. BookType allows authors to create beautiful books for people and digital distribution. So that's going to be interesting to see how BookType helps and why it's open source. Why would something like this be open source? I think it's really interesting. There's a whole subculture of people that are into fonts and publishing and things like that. So that's going to be really, really interesting. And I think after that, there's a project called Open Unison coming up on January 26th. So check that out. And then after that, there's Astaria or Asteria. We'll have to find out. OpenStack Asteria. And that's coming up on February 9th. So tune in for those shows as well. You can always follow us here on the IRC. You can jump on irc.twit.tv or watch live at live.twit.tv. And then remember, just a reminder, if you're watching this show or listening to the show after the fact, our new taping time is at 9:30 a.m. On Tuesday morning. So I'm having a little trouble remembering that myself, but I made it here this morning. So I think from now on we'll all be good. So Guillermo, where can people find and follow what you're working on?
I have my Twitter, which is at GAMARAL, and I have a lot of YouTube videos for people who like electronics and video games and stuff like that. It's basically just a hodgepodge of projects and stuff I do. That's on YouTube. You can just Google my name, Guillermo Amaral or Gamaral. I'm not the DJ. I'm the other guy. You'll see which ones I am. You'll find me there. There's a DJ with my name there.
Oh, really?
I hate that guy.
Is he any good?
He's okay. It's like psytrance music. So I would listen to him. Guys,
okay.
We have to stick together.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe when people come up to you and say, "Hey, man, I love your music," you can just roll with it. You're like, "Oh yeah, awesome music. I love being a DJ. It's awesome." Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a baseball player with my name apparently in Vermont or something like that. So, but I never get confused. I guess I don't look like a baseball player. What can I say? You can follow what I'm working on. I'm on Google+. That's the best place to interact with me because I can actually talk to you and interact with you. It's awesome. But I also publish at Facebook and Twitter if that's more your thing. And then you can also, if you're in the Northern California area, stop by Benicia Makerspace. We had a great open house last night. Lots of people stopped in and they're interested. We've got 3 new 3D printers up and running. And we've got a couple of CNC machines. We're working on getting a laser cutter. All kinds of stuff going on at Benicia Makerspace. And you can check that out, beniciamakerspace.org. Okay, I think that'll just about do it for this edition. We'll see you next time on Floss Weekly.